$2 million. Read this document, every page, every language, right now. Richard Hargrove laughed when he said it. The whole room laughed with him. Then a 9-year-old girl in a secondhand dress raised her hand. Zara Calloway didn't raise it because she was brave. She raised it because she could do what he asked, and she knew it. She walked the full length of that marble atrium while grown adults whispered. She took the document from his hands. She looked up at him once. Then she began to read. 7 languages, every page, every word. And the room that had been laughing 60 seconds ago went completely, permanently silent. Stop here for 1 second. Like this video. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. And share it, because somebody in your circle needs this story today. Thank you. The first page was Latin. Zara read it the way she read everything. Not to impress, but to understand. Her voice was clear and unhurried, moving through the ancient words like someone returning to a place they had always known. A murmur rippled through the atrium. Someone near the front leaned forward. She turned the page. Ancient Greek came next, its letters curving and precise. Zara translated as she went, her voice never faltering, never reaching for effect. A man near the back whispered something to the woman beside him. She nodded slowly, eyes fixed on the 9-year-old at the podium. The third language shifted the script entirely. Amharic, its characters flowing in a direction most eyes in that room had never followed. Zara followed them without hesitation. Sanskrit came forth. Soft, deliberate, each syllable placed with the care of someone who understood that old words carried old weight. Then classical Arabic. Then Old French, formal and exact. By the 6th language, the room had stopped murmuring. No whispers. No shifting of feet, only breathing. And Zara's voice, steady as a held hand. Then came the 7th, a rare liturgical script, the kind that lived in museum cases and academic footnotes. Zara paused, not because she couldn't read it, but because it deserved the pause. She took 1 breath. Then she read, translating quietly as she moved through each line. The greatest inheritance is not wealth or land, but knowledge, passed from one voice to another, so it is never lost to silence. She closed the document. The sound was soft, final. Then she looked directly at Richard Hargrove. And we had an agreement. He nodded. He had no other choice. The entire room had watched him make it, and the entire room was still watching. In the back, Loretta unclasped her hands, closed her eyes, and finally, breathed. The call came before the coffee finished brewing. Loretta heard the phone and knew. She had lived long enough to recognize the sound of a man trying to reclaim something in the early morning before the day had fully opened its eyes. She picked up on the second ring. The voice was professional, smooth, the kind trained to deliver bad news in the language of inconvenience. The offer, he explained, had been informal, a gala moment, a light-hearted gesture never intended as a binding agreement. He was very sorry for any confusion. Loretta let him finish. Every word. She did not interrupt, did not sigh, or did not give him the friction he was quietly braced for. When he was done, she thanked him politely and hung up. She stood at the kitchen counter for a moment, hand still resting on the phone. Then she sat down at the table and scrolled to a name she hadn't dialed in 2 years. Adaz Burke picked up on the 3rd ring. She was 71 years old, retired from 30 years of linguistics at Howard University. and had once rewritten a Federal Housing Committee's own rulebook back to them in a single afternoon meeting, using only their documents and a yellow legal pad. She did not own a smartphone by choice. She answered her calls on the second or third ring by principle. "I was wondering when you'd call," she said, before Loretta spoke a word. Loretta smiled for the first time that morning. "Then you saw it." "I saw it. Come by this evening. Bring the child." Across the kitchen, Zara sat at the table, spoon moving slowly through her cereal, backpack already packed and waiting by the door. "Grandma, can I go to the library after school?" "Yes, baby." Some things had to stay normal. Normal was the thing that held you together while everything else was being decided. Nobody planned to record it. Someone simply raised their phone the moment a 9-year-old walked to the front of a Billionaire's gala. The way people reach for their cameras when something feels historic before they can explain why. By midnight, the clip was moving. By morning, it had crossed into places that rarely agreed on anything. Parenting groups, linguistics forums, late-night comment sections, church group chats, college classrooms. The video was only 4 minutes long. People watched it 3 and 4 times in a row. She's 9 years old. Why was he laughing at her? That child just read 7 languages, and he's standing there like he's seen a parlor trick. The comments multiplied faster than anyone could moderate. Skeptics arrived, as they always did, demanding explanations, coached, memorized, staged. They were answered patiently and then impatiently by linguists, professors, and strangers who simply had ears and had listened. By the 48th hour, Hargrove's communications team released a statement. It was warm, carefully constructed, and said almost nothing. It praised Zara's remarkable spirit. It celebrated the joy of unexpected moments. It did not mention the $2 million. Adaize read the statement once, set it down, and picked up her yellow legal pad. She called a journalist she had known for 20 years, the kind who still checked primary sources and returned calls the same day. Then she contacted the governing board of the National Language Excellence Competition, whose founding charter contained language about equal access that had apparently been decorative until now. Then she placed 3 separate calls to members of Hargrove's own donor council. All 3 had daughters. All 3 called her back within the hour. The story was no longer contained. It was traveling, and it had chosen, without anyone directing it, exactly where it wanted to go. The cameras were already rolling when Zara walked in. She had known they would be. Loretta had told her the night before, quietly, the way she delivered things that required preparing for, not to frighten her, but to make sure nothing in that room arrived as a surprise. Zara had nodded, gone back to her book, and said nothing else about it. By morning, she was ready. The preliminary stage was formal. Judges behind a long table, a live stream counter climbing in the corner of every monitor. An audience that recognized her face now, whether she had chosen that or not. She had not chosen it. She carried it anyway. The first task was a dense literary passage, layered and deliberately complex. Zara read it without stumbling, unpacking its meaning the way she unpacked everything, carefully, from the inside out, with full respect for what the words were actually doing beneath the surface. Then came the audio recording. A man's voice, older, reflective, he's speaking about loss and distance and the places we carry in our bodies long after we've left them. Zara listened with her eyes half closed. When it finished, the moderator asked what stood out. Zara was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. "He pauses before the word home," she said, "because home is the word he's not sure he still has." The room went very still. Not the polite stillness of an audience being patient. The deep stillness of people who have just heard something true said plainly and don't yet know what to do with the feeling it leaves behind. In the sponsor section, Richard Hargrove watched her the way a man watches something he cannot explain away and cannot put back in the box. When the round ended, he did not walk toward Zara. He walked directly to the committee chair. The ethics board met on a Thursday morning in a room with no windows and very good coffee. They called it an emergency session. What it was, in plain language, was a group of careful people trying to solve a problem that had been created by one careless man in a room full of witnesses. The solution they arrived at had a name: youth distinction recognition, and a structure that was thoughtful and detailed, and had clearly been written the night before. It was a separate track, non-competitive, its own category, its own certificate, its own quiet corner of the program where something extraordinary could be honored without disturbing the existing order of things. Nobody said Zara's name while proposing it. They didn't need to. Adais arrived 12 minutes late, which was intentional. She set her bag down, took her seat, and then placed a single sheet of paper on the table in front of her. The competition's founding charter. She had marked one line in pencil, lightly, precisely. She read it aloud. The room went quiet in the particular way rooms go quiet when their own words are used against them. That evening, Loretta told Zara over dinner. She kept her voice even, the facts clean, no editorializing. When she finished, Zara set down her fork. Would they do this for someone else? Loretta shook her head. Zara nodded once. Then we stay in. She picked her fork back up and finished her food. 48 hours later, the journalist's account ran. Precise, sourced, and completely without drama. It simply told the truth in the correct order. Public response arrived fast and stayed loud. By Friday evening, the board had reversed its decision in writing, distributed to every committee member, and posted to their own website. The Youth Distinction Recognition category was never mentioned again. The night of the semi-final, the live stream counter climbed faster than the production team had prepared for. People had been waiting. Not just followers of the competition, people who had seen the video, read the article, watched an institution try to quietly move a child sideways and fail. They had stayed in the story. Now they wanted to see what happened next. The stage was the largest of the competition. Zara walked onto it the same way she walked into the library on Saturday mornings, without announcement, without performance, simply arriving and being fully present upon arrival. The moderator introduced the first task. A recorded statement played through the speakers, measured, confident, the kind of language that had been polished so many times it had lost its edges. It spoke about meritocracy, about equal opportunity, about how hard work and talent rose naturally to the top. Zara listened without moving. When it ended, the moderator turned to her. Zara took one breath. "Those words are true in places," she said, "but they don't account for the weight some people carry while others walk with empty hands. The statement is incomplete. And incomplete truth is one of the most dangerous things language can do." In the press section, 3 journalists stopped typing at exactly the same moment. The moderator steadied herself. "What do you believe language is for?" Zara didn't hesitate. was to close the distance between what people feel and what others are willing to understand. The broadcast ran 12 minutes over schedule. Nobody changed the channel. Nobody closed the tab. Across living rooms and phone screens and laptop monitors, people sat with what a 9-year-old girl had just said, turning it over slowly, the way you turn over something that has quietly rearranged something inside you. The final round had one question. No passage to interpret. No recording to analyze. No text on the screen behind her. Just a moderator's voice in a silent hall and 9 words that landed in the air, like something that had been waiting a long time to be asked. What does it mean to understand something fully? Zara went still. 4 seconds passed. Long enough that the front row stopped breathing. Long enough that somewhere in the press section, a hand hovered motionless above a keyboard. Long enough that the silence itself became part of the answer. Then she spoke. It means you carry it past the moment you learned it. It changes how you listen. It changes what you notice. You can't unknow it, and you stop wanting to. The judges conferred. It was not a long conversation. When the moderator spoke Zara's name, something extraordinary happened. Zara did not move. She stood exactly where she was, eyes wide, blinking slowly, as though the words needed extra time to travel from the air into her body and become real inside it. Then she found Loretta's face in the crowd. Loretta was not crying. She was smiling. The particular smile of a woman who has known something privately for years and is watching the rest of the world arrive at it. The smile of someone who was never surprised, only vindicated. Zara's shoulders dropped half an inch. She exhaled. At the podium, she held the microphone with both hands and spoke quietly into it. I didn't win because I was the loudest or the oldest or the most expected. I won because someone finally let me finish speaking. She paused. I hope that becomes ordinary for every child who has ever had to wait for permission to begin. The hall rose to its feet, every single person in it. The offers began arriving before Zara had returned her competition number tag. Management agencies, speaking circuits, a documentary crew who described their vision in a single breathless voicemail, a publishing house that used the word memoir in reference to a 9-year-old without apparent hesitation. They came through email, through phone calls, through people who had Loretta's number now somehow. Loretta declined everyone, not coldly, not with speeches, simply and completely, the way she had always closed doors that led nowhere good. Hargrove called himself 3 days later. His voice was different. The performance had been removed from it, the easy confidence, the gala room polish. What remained was quieter and, Loretta thought, more honest than anything she had heard from him before. He did not apologize with words. He proposed something instead. A language education endowment. Fully funded, no conditions attached. Loretta told him she would have a D's review it. Eyes drafted the terms in one sitting. No use of Zara's name in marketing materials. No required appearances, no photographs. No annual galas held in Zara's honor where Hargrove could stand at a podium and reclaim the narrative. The money would go to public library expansions, after-school language programs, and transportation grants for children who could not reach either on their own. Hargrove signed every page. He did not request a press release. He did not ask for acknowledgement of any kind. That, Loretta decided quietly, was the first genuinely decent thing he had done. The Calloway Language Fund began its work on a Tuesday morning. No announcement, No ceremony. A transfer processed, a board convened, a list of applications already waiting that nobody had known would ever be answered. Exactly as intended. Exactly as it should have always been. A year passed. Then another. Zara turned 11 in the same apartment, at the same kitchen table, with the same grandmother, who made the same yellow cake she had made every year since Zara was old enough to blow out candles. Some things were not meant to be upgraded. They were meant to continue. She still went to the library every Saturday. Same corner, same chair by the window with the drafty seal that nobody had fixed in 3 years. Legs tucked beneath her, 2 books open and a third waiting on the armrest like a patient friend. The librarians knew her order the way a diner knows a regular. They set things aside without being asked. One Saturday afternoon, a small girl appeared beside her chair. 6 years old, maybe. Braids coming slightly loose on one side. A picture book pressed against her chest with both arms, eyes moving between Zara and the empty half of the chair, with the particular hesitation of a child who wants something but hasn't decided yet if she's allowed to want it. Zara moved over without being asked. They sat together for an hour. Zara pointed at nothing, corrected nothing, performed nothing. She simply stayed present while a 6-year-old found her footing on a page, word by word, until the last one arrived on its own. On the walk home, Loretta asked what the girl's name was. Zara thought for a moment. "I didn't ask," she said. But she read the last page by herself. That evening, Loretta hung the competition certificate in the hallway. Not the living room, not for guests, for Zara, to see every morning on her way to breakfast. Zara glanced at it once, and then she went to find her book. Outside, the neighborhood moved through its ordinary rhythms. Inside, a girl read. Unhurried, undiminished, completely and permanently herself.